All right, so let's jump right into it. You know, South African politics are always,
Always a hot topic.
yeah, always a hot topic,
Yeah.
and especially Ramaphosa's Ninth State of the Nation address, and
Not just any SONA.
yeah, not just any SONA, right? So the first one after
Under the government of national unity.
the GNU after those crazy elections last year.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole stack of stuff to get through. We've got news reports, we've got analyses, we've even got some choice quotes from some of the big political players themselves.
Should be interesting.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to try to figure out what Ramaphosa's vision is for this, new kind of crazy world of coalition politics.
Right, and what it actually means,
And
for
the people.
South Africa.
Exactly, yeah. Because a vision is one thing, but, getting everyone to actually work together and make it happen.
Yeah. It's the tricky part.
That's a whole other story, right?
Yeah.
Especially with so many different parties all trying to...
All trying to get a piece of the pie.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
whole new set of dynamics.
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah, herding cats, but the cats are like political parties with their own little
agendas
and their own scratching post.
Exactly.
So before we get too deep into it, can we talk about the elephant in the room? Or rather...
14 elephants not in the room.
Yeah. Ramaphosa, he started the SONA by paying tribute to those South African soldiers that were killed in the DRC.
Right. Sets a very somber tone.
Yeah. What do you think that tells us about, like, the context of this whole speech?
Well, I think it definitely underscores the, complexities and challenges South Africa faces on a global stage, but domestically as well.
At home.
Yeah, it's a reminder that, while we're talking about this grand vision for the future, there's, real world stuff happening.
Yeah, there's real problems.
There's conflicts, there's real challenges.
Okay, so somber backdrop for what's supposed to be, a message of hope.
It's a tough balancing act.
Yeah, and speaking of challenges, the economy, Ramaphosa, he threw out this, like, pretty ambitious 3% GDP growth target.
Yeah.
Like, lots of big talk about infrastructure, spending, roads, bridges, a whole 9 yards.
Yeah, he wants to get things moving.
But is that realistic?
Well, I mean, economists are predicting much slower growth.
Like what?
More like 1.4 to 2%.
Okay.
And that's, if everything goes perfectly with these infrastructure projects.
Right, and when did that ever happen?
Exactly, infrastructure projects in South Africa.
They tend to hit a few bumps in the road.
Yeah, potholes, let's say.
Right, exactly. And then there's that whole 100 billion rand transformation fund for Black-owned businesses.
Right, that's a big one.
That's a huge initiative.
Yeah.
Lots of buzz around it. Some people are really excited about it.
The potential for empowerment.
Empowerment? Yeah. But others are,
Worried about mismanagement.
yeah, like we've seen this before, right?
Right, with the COVID-19 relief fund.
Yeah. Things didn't always go to plan.
Exactly.
So it's a gamble.
A high-stakes gamble.
Big potential reward, but
Big risk as well.
yeah, it's all going down to,
Implementation and accountability.
yeah, making sure the money actually gets to where it's supposed to go.
Exactly. The devil's in the details, as they say.
Yeah. And speaking of details, let's move on to, like, the social welfare stuff. Ramaphosa announced they're going to expand the SRD grant,
Right.
which, has been a real lifeline for a lot of people during these tough times.
Definitely.
And this brings us to the big question. The big question.
The basic income grant.
Yeah, the big debate. It's been going on forever.
Yeah, some people see it as a solution to poverty.
The silver bullet.
Yeah, others are worried about the cost.
Yeah. Can South Africa actually afford this?
That's the big question, right? And if they can afford it, what are the trade-offs?
Right, because there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Exactly. And even if you can afford the lunch, you got to make sure it's nutritious.
Not just empty calories.
Right. It's got to be a smart investment.
Exactly. An investment that'll actually benefit people in the long run.
Long-term benefits, yeah.
And speaking of investments, we can't forget about Ramaphosa's commitment to the national health insurance.
Right. Big plans for universal health care.
Yeah. Bold vision.
All hot questions.
Yeah. A lot of questions about how it's actually going to work and, what it means for people who rely on private health care.
Right. The NHI wants to create this single-payer system, pool all the funds, provide health care for everyone. But how they're going to do that and what happens to the private sector, still very much up in the air.
So a lot of uncertainty.
Definitely.
A lot of potential pitfalls, but also,
Potentially a big step towards a more equitable system.
yeah, it's a tough balancing act.
It is. And that balancing act gets even trickier when you consider South Africa's foreign policy.
Oh, yeah. Things are getting interesting there.
Yeah, remember that line from the SONA, "We will not be bullied."
Ooh, strong words.
Yeah. What's he talking about there?
Yeah, what's the message? Is it about the Russia-Ukraine thing?
Well, it's definitely part of it. South Africa is trying to walk this tightrope, stay neutral.
Non-aligned.
Yeah, non-aligned in a world that's becoming more and more polarized.
Right. But that's got to be tough, especially with all the pressure from the U.S.
It is. The U.S. is not happy with South Africa's stance on the conflict and their relationship with the BRICS nations.
So South Africa's stuck in the middle of this geopolitical tug of war.
Right, in the crosshairs.
And Ramaphosa is trying to say, hey, we're not going to be pushed around.
Exactly, asserting their independence.
But that could backfire, right?
There could be economic consequences.
Yeah.
Diplomatic fallout.
Yeah.
It's a risky game.
Okay, so we've got economic uncertainty, social welfare dilemmas, this foreign policy tightrope walk.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. But let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. You know, load shedding, crime water shortages. These are the things that people are dealing with every single day.
The everyday struggles.
Yeah. And Ramaphosa, he touched on all of these in the SONE.
He did.
But, you know, varying levels of detail.
Right. Some more convincing than others.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So the question is, are these pronouncements backed up by actual plans?
Right. Are they going to take action or is it just talk?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. So let's dig into these everyday issues and see what Ramaphosa is actually proposing.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's see if his plans, hold water, so to speak.
I like that.
All right.
Let's dive in. Let's start with the one that's literally keeping South Africans in the dark. Load shedding.
Yeah, load shedding.
Ramaphosa, he says they're making progress.
Right.
But the lights went out again last week, so...
So what's the deal?
Is there actually an end in sight, or...
Or are we just getting used to living in the dark?
Right.
I mean, he talked about, more renewable energy, making Eskom more efficient, but that's all like long-term stuff.
Right. It's a long game.
Yeah. Well, what about now?
What about today?
Yeah, people need electricity. Like, to run their businesses, to cook, to, live their lives.
It's about livelihoods.
It's not just inconvenience. It's people's businesses. It's their families.
Yeah, it's been years of this.
Years of promises, plans, supposed solutions.
And the lights still go out.
The lights still go out.
So is it just like bad management?
Well, there's definitely been mismanagement and corruption at Eskom.
Yeah.
But you also have to remember the legacy of apartheid.
Right.
The energy infrastructure wasn't designed for a modern economy.
Right. So we're dealing with old baggage and
new problems.
New problems. Yeah. Great combo.
Great combination.
All right. Well, let's move on to something a bit more uplifting.
Okay.
Crime. What's the plan there?
Well, he talked about strengthening the police, better training, more resources.
More boots on the ground.
Yeah, something like that. But he also admitted that crime is,
symptom of a bigger problem.
Yeah. Poverty, inequality, unemployment. These are the root causes.
So it's not just about catching the bad guys. It's about
preventing people from becoming bad guys in the first place.
Right. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure or something like that.
Exactly. It's about opportunity. It's about education.
Building a better society.
A more just and equitable society.
Okay, so crime's complicated.
Crime is very complicated.
What about water?
The water crisis.
Yeah, we all gonna be drinking sand soon?
Well, climate change is definitely making droughts worse.
Right.
And our water infrastructure is struggling to keep up.
Yeah.
Ramaphosa talked about new dams and pipelines.
Okay.
But also better water management.
So using what we have more wisely.
Exactly, but that's not easy.
How do you change people's habits?
Right. Especially when people are already struggling.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a crisis to make people change.
Okay, so load shedding, crime, water forber. The trifecta of South African problem.
The big three.
Yeah. But, the SONA, it's not just about what Ramaphosa says.
It's about the reaction.
Yeah. How do people respond to all this?
Well, it's been mixed.
Mixed.
Yeah, it's like a political cocktail party, and everyone brought their own special blend of emotions.
Okay, a cocktail of emotions.
Ah.
I like that. So who was not impressed?
Well, the MK party, they called it hugely disappointing.
Ouch.
Yeah. They wanted more specifics.
Like what?
Like concrete plans.
Instead just
vague promises.
Right. They want to see action, not just words.
Exactly. And they weren't the only ones.
Who else?
The EFF, Julius Malema, he was also very critical.
What did he say?
He said Ramaphosa hasn't delivered on his past promises.
So, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice.
Pretty much they see this as more the same.
Okay. So we've got the skeptics.
Mm-hmm.
What about the optimists?
Well, the DA, they're part of the GNU now.
Right.
They were more positive.
Okay.
Their leader, John Steenhuisen, she said Ramaphosa at least understands the problems.
So he diagnosed the patient correctly.
Yeah, but now he needs to treat it.
Right. Action, not just words.
Exactly. And then you have the smaller GNU partners. Raismizanzi, the good party.
Yeah.
They were cautiously optimistic.
Okay, so they're not quite ready to celebrate, but they're
willing to give him a chance.
yeah, they've seen it all before, right?
They've seen the promises, the hopes, the disappointments.
So basically, Ramaphosa's got some trust issues to work through.
He's got to convince people that he can actually deliver.
Yeah, that this time it's going to be different.
Exactly.
So can he pull it off?
That's the big question. Can he handle this coalition? Can he overcome the past?
And actually make a difference?
Only time will tell.
This is going to be interesting.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Okay, so we've got, Ramaphosa on this tightrope.
Balancing act.
Yeah, balancing act, trying to, project this image of hope, but also facing a lot of skepticism.
A lot of doubt.
Yeah, some people are like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. And others are like,
prove it.
yeah, show me the money.
Right.
But I'm curious, what does all this mean for like the average person in South Africa?
That's what matters, right?
Yeah. Are they actually going to see a difference in their lives?
It's easy to get caught up in the political stuff, the speeches, the promises.
Yeah, the big picture stuff.
But at the end of the day, it's about people's lives.
Right? Can they keep the lights on? Can they put food on the table? Can they, feel safe walking down the street?
Those are the real measures of success.
Exactly. So let's zoom in on that.
Yeah.
What are the things from this SONA that will actually affect people, on the ground level?
Well, I think jobs are huge.
Yeah. Unemployment is a massive problem.
It's a massive problem. It drives poverty, crime, inequality.
Right. If people have jobs, they can, support their families.
Exactly. They can contribute to the economy.
So Ramaphosa needs to deliver on those promises to create jobs.
He does, if he wants to make a real difference.
Okay. So jobs are key. What else?
Load shedding is another big one.
Yeah, that's not going away anytime soon.
It's a major problem. People are tired of living in the dark.
Literally.
Literally, they need electricity to run their businesses, to educate their kids.
Live a normal life.
Exactly.
So if load shedding continues, it's going to undermine, everything else.
They will hold the country back.
Okay, what about crime and the water crisis?
Did Ramaphosa offer any real solutions?
Yeah, did he?
He talked about them. He acknowledged the problems.
Okay.
He mentioned strengthening the police, addressing the causes of crime, investing in water infrastructure.
But was there anything specific?
Not really.
More like we're working on it.
Yeah, a lot of vague promises.
And this is where the GNU thing gets interesting, right?
Definitely.
Ramaphosa, he needs those other parties to actually implement any of this.
He can't do it alone.
So lots of negotiation, lots of compromise.
And maybe even some horse trading.
Right. So it's not just about having a vision. It's about having the political skills.
The ability to get things done.
To navigate this whole coalition thing.
With all these different parties, all these different agendas.
Yeah, that's a tough job.
It is. But that's coalition politics.
Messy, unpredictable.
But sometimes it works.
So should South Africans be hopeful?
I think cautious optimism is the right approach.
Okay. So wait and see.
Ramaphosa has a vision, and the GNU, it has potential.
But the real work starts now.
It's time to go beyond the talk and actually deliver results.
Results that make a difference in people's lives.
Exactly.
All right. Well, this is going to be fascinating to watch unfold.
Definitely a lot of twists and turns ahead.
The stakes are high. The challenges are real.
And the outcome is uncertain.
And that, my friend, is what makes South African politics so interesting.
It's a story that's still being written.
And we have a front row seat.
We do.
So on that note, we'll leave you to ponder all this. Remember, you can find all those sources we talked about in the show notes. And tell us what you think, what stood out to you, what questions do you still have?
We want to hear from you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.